good morning, or morning. I don't know if it's good, but I am in the process of shutting down. There's the 3 beds from the trucks that were here. There's the 3 mattresses from the trucks. There's all the tarps, all the stuff. And in this video, I want to kind of break down why I'm shutting down. So I'm sitting here in my closet editing, and I just want to say that I've tried to record this video a couple of times now, and the first time I just rambled and it wasn't good. Second time, same thing. And really, I wanted to give some structure to the video so I can provide value to you guys of what I did wrong and where I learned. So this video is going to be kind of split up into really 3 sections. A little bit about the whole situation, what I did wrong and what caused it to shut down, and kind of what's wrong with the trucking industry. So let's get started. First, a little bit about me and my situation is this is my first business, right? This is my first time hiring actually employees. This is my first time putting myself on W-2 payroll. My company pays me W-2 payroll. That's my first time doing that. And this is my first time. I uploaded a video. This is literally my first time of growing a business to $1 million gross in a year. This is I did last year. This is my first time of doing $1 million in literally 90 days, like I explained in the video that I uploaded recently. This is my first time of we're on track to do. We were on track to do $4 million gross revenue this year. This is the first time for everything. And it's actually a first time for a recession, for me to experience a recession, right? And by all accounts, it does kind of look like we're in a recession. And because I'm 29, and so in 2008, the previous recession, I believe I was 18 or 19, young, naive, no clue, right? So it doesn't really count. So this is my first serious recession as an adult, as a grown-up, I would say, or kind of as a grown-up. So there's been a lot of firsts, and unfortunately, this is also my first time of learning what can happen, learning the bad side of the economy, or when things go south and all that stuff. And this is my first time shutting down a business also, unfortunately. So I know I didn't do a super great job, and so if you're an owner operator, a driver, or a dispatcher, I'm sorry. I try to do what's right in the moment all the time. And so if you feel that I made a mistake, I'm sorry. Like I said, it's literally the first time for all of this stuff. What did I do wrong? Okay, so I did 3 things, you could say. Actually, kind of boils down to 3 things. Number 1 is I relied on my experience. Number 2 is I relied on a system I had in place. And number 3, I relied on data. Okay, let me break those down. So my experience. This is not my first insurance renewal. Okay, it usually comes down to the wire. No insurance company will give you a quote a month in advance, because they'll give you a quote, you might sign up and put it in place, put your money down, and then crash that last month. That changes your rates. So insurance companies have no incentive giving you a quote in advance. And so I knew with my experience, right, I had done 3 previous insurance renewals. So I knew with my experience that it's going to come down to the wire, right? It's going to come down 5 days before insurance is expiring. We're going to be shopping for quotes. I figured that would be the case. And I relied on my experience that the previous quotes, there was an increase in premium, but nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing maybe a marginal increase, maybe some, it was never here's a double premium increase. It was never like that. And this is where I relied kind of on my system. So the system that I had for this is I realized that instead of putting the money into the business account and then spending money out of the business account, because things always happen and things always break, and so you're using money that's not yours, I decided, I'm what's better? So instead of using money that's not yours, and then when the insurance payment is due, you're kind of oh darn, that kind of sucks, a big insurance payment is coming up, right? So instead of doing that, I realized, you know what, I can do one better. I call up RTS. RTS is a great factoring company. They have great fuel programs. I have a link in the description. It's a referral link. If you're looking for one, check it out. But
I called up RTS. I'm like, guys, can we do this? Can you just deduct 10% of every load automatically and put it in reserves? And then pay out the 90% like normal, right? So 10%. And over the course of the month, that would build up. And then when insurance is due, I have $25,000, $30,000 in reserves, right? Because we're doing about $300,000 gross a month. So I would have right around 30 grand in reserves. And it's like, great. And then when the insurance payment is due, fantastic, easy. Transfer it, done. Pay the insurance. Super simple. Now, I was doing the same thing this month, right? I was like, it's stacking up in the reserves. We got some in the money. We set aside the insurance money. But the quote, like, this is where the mistakes are. Like, I relied on that I had money in reserves. I relied on my experience, knowing that maybe they won't jack up my rates really high for some unforeseen reason. And I also relied on the metrics, right? The data. Like, our safety score is below national average. We haven't had a single loss run. Not a single loss run on paper. Now, drivers have damaged loads and I would pay out of pocket, but I haven't had a single claim on my insurance. There was one pending, but that's they were in, there's lawyers and all that stuff, so they're figuring it out. And the way the officer wrote it up, it kind of made it seem like it's not our fault actually. So there's one pending, but in 3.5 years of business, multiple trucks, not a single claim, data and safety score below national average, right? For the vehicle, for the driver, we were slightly above, but like national average is 5%. I think we're at 8% for out of service percentage. So like really all accounts, decent safety score, no bad accidents or claims or crashes or anything like that, right? And so I'm relying on these 4 things. I'm relying on my experience, I'm relying on the system that I had in place, and I'm relying on the metrics that I have. Well, when insurance comes back with some quotes, let's give you an example. Our premium was $24,000 a month for 17 trucks. $24,000 a month. The new quote that they gave us from our current insurance, the insurance we had, was $43,000 for the same 17 trucks. And then when you add on top of that the fuel expense, when you add on top all of those other things, it absolutely makes no sense, and you'll be in the red every month no matter what you do. And so that came as shock. And so we're like, okay, great, let's go shop around. Then I got another quote from Progressive, and Progressive was about $2,200 to $2,300 per truck with 20% down. And the problem with the 20% down is, well, my premium is, first of all, it's higher, but assuming it's like $30,000 per truck, or $30,000 total for 17 trucks, which would put it right around $2,000 or so, right? 30,000 times 10 months is 300,000, and then there's 11 and 12, that would put you at 360,000. My annual premium is about 360,000. That means I would have to put 20% down. That would be 70 grand. Like, I'm setting aside only 10%, right? For me to set aside 70 grand, I would have to put the system in place that would set aside 20%. Well, if I'm setting aside 20%, that leaves like no margin, right? Because I charge 30 to lease on. So it's like, then what would happen from there is I would have to pay dispatch and accounting and all this other stuff. And it's like, then there's no money, right? So it's like, so the system that I had in place were all failed because the pricing was so insane. Just flat out insane. 70 grand down with over $30,000 a month in monthly payments for insurance. It's like that. Anyways, that's what I did wrong, right? And as a business owner, it's not like I tried my best, and this was a mistake that ends up unfortunately leading to the business shutting down. Now, I have some experience now in trucking. And so now I want to go into what is wrong with the trucking industry. Now, this is my opinion, and you guys, I want some feedback if I'm my head, like maybe I'm thinking incorrectly. So comment below about any of these points. But 3 things, it boils down to 3 things what I think about is wrong in the trucking industry. Number 1 is, as a truck driver or as a fleet owner, you're not in control of the rate. Okay? And that is rare. Most companies that offer services or products, especially products, are in control of their rates, right? Like, I'm recording this on an iPhone, right? Apple doesn't use a broker to dictate the price, and the price of the iPhone doesn't fluctuate on that broker, right? Apple has here's our price, $1,100 for an iPhone. If you don't like it, we understand. We offer financing, or maybe you can get a cheaper iPhone, or maybe you might not get an iPhone at all. But they set their price, right? In trucking, you don't do that, which is kind of like, well, that's weird, because there are certain fixed costs in trucking, and when the rate goes down below your fixed cost, what are trucking companies supposed to do? Wait for everyone else to go out of business, and then the rates will go back up? So it's a little bit like, doesn't make a whole lot of sense that there is no like fixed price in there. You can't charge your price in trucking, except for asterisk, of course, except for with direct customers. Direct customers, I loved hauling for direct customers. I love hauling for brokers that appreciated that we do a good job. We offer tracking and pictures and all this other stuff. I built out a really good website for customers, and so when they appreciated those things, they paid us what we wanted, and so it worked out. So, but the brokers that kept using us and the direct customers resulted in about 20% of the revenue. So if we're roughly doing about $300,000, that means $60,000 came from direct customers and brokers directly. And it would take a very long time for us to build that up to be able to be maybe 100% or 80% direct customers, which then it would be worthwhile, right? So problem number one with trucking is you're not in control of the rate. So unfortunately, you have to ride the waves, right? And that I'm more aware of that now than maybe before. But number two is one company is in control of your entire existence. And that's like if that's not terrifying, that sentence alone should be terrifying. That one company is in complete control of your business existing. And I think I maybe talked about it in a different video, but it was in the beginning of the year in January where we got issued a cancellation by our insurance because the VIN number that was on the paperwork during the inspection was not a truck that was listed on our policy. Okay, and so what the inspection happened in November. We got a cancellation in January, and they gave us a 7-day notice. They're like, here's your cancellation. You have 7 days to find new insurance. I'm freaking out, like, whoa, hold on, what do you mean? Like, we didn't have as many trucks back then, so I knew all the trucks. Like, that's weird. And so what happened is it was an Enterprise rental, and Enterprise registers their truck often in Indiana, and Indiana has electronic license plates, and when your license plate expires in Indiana, you can kind of just throw it away because that license plate number gets assigned to a new VIN number. It's not permanently assigned to your VIN number, it's electronic. It's an electronic connection that during the registration period, that license plate is assigned to your VIN, but as soon as it expires, it goes somewhere else. And so that's exactly what happened. The truck that was registered in Indiana from Enterprise, their plate expired, and Indiana then saw that plate is now available for re-registration, and they re-registered to a new truck. That truck with that VIN number, the officer just typed in the plate number. He didn't actually go type in the VIN number. Duh. So that's how they're supposed to do it. But during that inspection, if you were to look at, and we sent all this back, and they took back their cancellation, but that was probably the most terrifying week ever because it almost opened my eyes. And since then, it changed my entire perspective of being dependent for existence on one company is not a business that I want to participate in at all. And not to mention the frustrating part, it wasn't a human level. It wasn't hey, Mr. Customer, we like you pay us $30,000 a month, but there's just one little hiccup here. Could you provide some clarity on this? It wasn't that. It was here's your cancellation, too bad. It's that's not okay, that sucks. And so, but anyways, whatever, but brings me to the third point, and that is ultimately the liability and the expense is always on you as the trucking company owner, right? And and a lot of the expenses are not in your control. Nobody would have known that used trucks and used vehicles or trailers would have skyrocketed 40-50% in price. Nobody would have known that. That's out of your control. Nobody would have known that in February fuel cost was $3 and now it's $7 everywhere. It's those expenses are out of your control here, and that's the problem. paired that up with the rates not in your, fine, this is out of my control, but the rates are in my control. That's different. But if the rates are out of my control, then so should the fuel cost or the expenses. The business just fundamentally doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. It's not a business worth growing. It's not a business worth doing. And so I'm not trying to be bitter about it, because I simultaneously love truck. I'm in two spots, right? I love trucking and I hate it simultaneously. And really it's because I've learned so much, because this business is my first business. I've probably learned more in the last 4 years than going to school and getting a degree in business. In the last 4 years, I would say I've learned more than a business degree from a college. And so that's why fundamentally I love it, because I learned so much. It's insane. So many new skills. I can make websites now. I can do social media. I can do so much. It's just ridiculous how much I've learned in these last 4 years. But I also hate it because of those other problems, because of the other issues, that ultimately this is not a business that's scalable. Now, does that mean trucking is bad? No, because maybe your boss is intolerable. If you have your own truck and you're if you have your own truck and your own MC and you can just go out there, you run your own schedule, you're doing your own thing, it really isn't that bad. The only problem is a lot of people can't be on the road. So if you're okay with being on the road, hey, by all means, trucking with your own MC, your own insurance, you keep the record clean, it's actually not terrible. But that was never what I wanted. I always wanted to grow a business. I always wanted to have a bigger business. And so trucking isn't a good fit for me, because I want a bigger business, right? I want to do $5 to $10 million a year. I want to build a business that does $5 to $10 million a year, right? It's that's what I want. And so ultimately, because of all these things, trucking is not for me. And so it sucks. It sucks because I had to let go of the dispatchers. I had to let go of the drivers. It's unfortunate. It really hurt. Letting everyone go, really, that was the hardest thing. I think Elon Musk in one of his interviews did, when they announced the Tesla Roadster, the first version, and everyone put $50,000 deposits, pre-order deposits, and then he had to raise the price on them. He couldn't keep the price. He said it's like chewing glass. That's what it's like admitting to your drivers that you're ultimately a failure and you have to let everyone go. It was that difficult. So we are in the cleanup stages, or just organize everything. Earlier today I went and loaded up 2 trucks onto the step deck. We're going to be returning those 2 Enterprises. The other Enterprise is in New Jersey, so I'll have to ask the driver to return that truck. I'm going to be hitting the road on my Chevy to go pick up. I have a trailer in Pennsylvania and the trailer that's in New Jersey with that truck. So I got to go pick both of them up. And I think I have actually a couple of trailers already sold. So Enterprise gets turned in. The Penske Semi is going to be turned in. The step deck was a rental, so I'll be turning that in. And I might have a couple of trailers left for sale. So it's one of those things. It's just we're in the cleanup stages, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next. I have an idea, probably something with software or probably something with marketing, something like that, or social media. I don't have an exact idea, but I've a general idea. I don't know exactly how it's going to manifest itself, but I do have a general idea of where I want to kind of go. But the point remains the same, that I'm looking forward to your comments in this video. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. What are your thoughts?